Adam Silver is forced to speak out against Cathy Engelbert and the current dismemberment of her relationship with her players.
The WNBA has entered a state of sheer panic. What began as hushed internal tension has erupted into a major crisis, jeopardizing the league's very future. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert's leadership is now under fire from players, coaches, and the media alike. In such a situation, only one call can be made: to NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. Following weeks of intense public criticism, failed talks, and lockout speculation, Silver has intervened to assume control and prevent a total collapse. This move is more than just damage control, it's a full-on rescue. Sources indicate the NBA is now actively stabilizing operations and advocating for urgent agreements. The crucial question persists: can Adam Silver truly save the WNBA from a complete shutdown, or is he entering a situation beyond repair?
This whole Cathy situation is getting ugly. First thing Monday morning, we get a response from Adam Silver. Now, Adam Silver is pretty much like the daddy of it all. I know he got a hell of a job. He got to worry about LeBron and Bronny. He got to worry about keeping his league afloat. They ratings tanking too. Now he got to deal with Cathy mismanagement of the WNBA.
For months, the WNBA had been precariously balanced on a knife's edge. Insiders report that tensions finally boiled over in a series of fraught meetings between players and league officials. The players' union had already exercised the opt-out clause in their collective bargaining agreement, moving its expiration to October 2025. That singular decision initiated a countdown to total chaos. What should have been a negotiation devolved into a complete standoff. Players leveled accusations that Commissioner Cathy Engelbert disregarded their issues, neglected to shield them from bad officiating, and poorly managed public scandals that alienated fans. The outcome was straightforward but catastrophic: a total lack of trust when the WNBA finals began. The league's internal dramas had eclipsed its premier events. Vacant seats conveyed the reality better than any official statement. Fans were absent, and even casual observers started to doubt the league's survival. Then came the breaking point. News emerged that several top players were thinking of sitting out the next season under Engelbert's authority unless significant changes occurred. This included the possibility of a strike, an action that could wipe out the 2026 season entirely if not resolved. For the NBA, this was intolerable. Adam Silver had been observing everything from behind the curtain. As chief of the NBA, the WNBA's owner and financial backer, he could not permit another leadership failure. Sources familiar with the matter say Silver had privately cautioned Engelbert months before to restore player trust and update the league's operational structure. But when she publicly dismissed the criticism, stating the league was stronger than ever, Silver knew it was his time to intervene.
I think we can all be honest here. Shit's gonna get done. Shit's gonna get done. It is going to get done. We know that. We all know that, with just the way that the NBA works.
Now, the way it's looking, might not be no 2026 season. And just like I stated, Cathy whole relationship situation is not good at all. They could put in there that Cathy got to step down before they sign anything, which will be ugly for the league. But hell, at this point, I can't blame them. Cathy can't be trusted, and she definitely got to go.
Stepping to the lectern in New York, he was direct, describing the issue as growing pains. Silver aimed for diplomacy, but his message was unmistakable. The WNBA was skating on thin ice, with the NBA observing every move. He recognized the progress made during Engelbert's term, but affirmed that relationship problems and player contentment were now the highest priority. This slight change in wording broadcast a message to the sports world. Adam Silver was now managing the crisis, and Cathy Engelbert's period of unchecked authority could be ending. Silver's choice to get involved was not merely about saving appearances. It was about safeguarding billions in broadcast rights, sponsorships, and the standing of professional women's basketball. The NBA had made a huge investment in the WNBA's expansion, particularly with Caitlin Clark's arrival, whose fame ignited record viewership and attendance. Allowing that progress to disappear due to weak leadership was unacceptable. Yet the action made everyone wonder, If Adam Silver must intervene to save the WNBA from disintegrating, what does it imply about the individual originally tasked with leading it? Just as fans believed the situation couldn't deteriorate further, Cathy Engelbert threw fuel on an already raging fire. In a Friday press conference meant to soothe anxieties over a potential lockout, the WNBA commissioner delivered one of the most out-of-touch statements of her career. With cameras active and journalists demanding answers, Engelbert declared she was staying put and dismissed the mounting criticism as mere media noise. These words sent tremors through the league. Players felt ignored, fans felt unheard, and longtime WNBA advocates began to doubt if Engelbert grasped the seriousness of the events. This instance didn't just reveal poor leadership, it showed a deepening rift between the league's front office and its athletes.
NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, on the heels of several prominent WNBA players' criticism, league Commissioner Cathy for lack of accountability and leadership, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver on Monday adding his voice on the decision. In remarks made on October the 6th at NBC Sports headquarters, Adam Silver acknowledged the WNBA is experiencing growing pains. Whoa, he's saying growing pains.
News immediately circulated that multiple player reps were stunned by her statement, asserting they were not consulted or informed prior to her public address. Insiders disclosed that dialogue between Engelbert and the Players Association had all but ceased, with numerous calls and messages reportedly ignored. An intended display of confidence registered as hubris, adding to the speculation that Engelbert had lost the faith of both her players and her board. The response from media figures was immediate and harsh. Pundits on ESPN and other outlets openly wondered how the WNBA could assert unprecedented growth while its championship games had empty seats and ratings fell after the Olympic selection dispute. NBA insiders even started to anonymously voice their displeasure with Engelbert's public relations strategy. Her unwillingness to admit fault, particularly in her management of Caitlin Clark's Olympic omission and persistent officiating controversies, came to represent more profound issues within the league. Privately, players were incensed. Star players were said to be organizing a collective effort to force the commissioner out. Young stars, in turn, worried if the league they'd entered would still be around when their initial contracts were up. This was not just anger, it was genuine fear, the kind that compels a change in leadership. Adam Silver's team was alerted immediately. Insiders say Silver was notified within hours of the press conference that Engelbert's comments had ignited internal panic. The NBA's legal and comms departments were reportedly put on notice about possible outcomes, like emergency supervision, replacement talks, and a temporary commissioner strategy. Should the situation worsen, the WNBA's reputation was now the NBA's problem. From there, the story changed. Engelbert was no longer the progressive leader she once presented. She had become the symbol of a disconnect, a commissioner out of sync with her players and the fans who sustained the league. Her press event was designed to project strength, but it only proved one thing: the WNBA was on a path to ruin, and the one person who could stop it was waiting in the wings: Adam Silver.
With this unprecedented popularity colliding with rampant player dissatisfaction just ahead of the expiration of its collective bargaining agreement at the end of the month. And just like I told y'all earlier today, this whole collective bargaining, this is the month, man. We gonna find out this month whether or not there's going to be some type of situation with this league that will be going on a lockout.
As the fallout from Engelbert's calamitous press conference began to settle, another crisis was brewing in private. The collective bargaining talks, which had begun as standard procedure, had morphed into a high-stakes struggle for power. The WNBA Players Association, already angered by inadequate pay, poor travel arrangements, and a lack of transparency, decided to resist forcefully. Their message to the commissioner was unequivocal: no more unfulfilled promises. The players refused to wait any longer for substantive change, and if that required a league-wide shutdown, they were prepared for it. The core problem was trust, or its complete erosion. Players felt let down after years of hearing about expansion, but experiencing minimal improvement in their everyday professional lives. Private jets remained a luxury. Marketing funds were not allocated fairly. Some teams enjoyed top-tier facilities, while others made do with rented gym. One player's reported comment, "We can't play for a league that doesn't play for us," went viral, sparking fan discussion and compelling the media to report on the underlying issues. The WNBA was on a collision course with a lockout. lockout. By early October, with the CBA expiring in months, the two parties were nowhere near an agreement. Engelbert attempted to seem assured, calling the negotiations healthy, but her words lacked credibility. The Players Association demanded guarantees, increased pay, better health care, and greater influence over media rights. The league's administration, however, appeared more concerned with appearances than with actual solutions. The atmosphere became intensely strained. It was even rumored that a cadre of veteran players, including Nafisa Collier and Aja Wilson, were considering other leagues, like Collier's own Unrivaled, to gain leverage. For the first time, a rival women's pro league seemed plausible. This is when Adam Silver intervened. Having witnessed the harm lockouts inflicted on the NBA, he saw the same dangerous signals in the WNBA. Sources say he called a secret emergency session with both NBA and WNBA boards to evaluate the situation. Silver asserted that a lockout was not merely a women's basketball issue, it was a crisis for the entire basketball brand. The NBA's reputation, the WNBA's existence, and future media contracts were all linked. A stoppage could undo 2 decades of progress. Silver's directive was clear: resolve it or lose it all. Insiders noted his tone was calm but firm. The WNBA had to regain player trust before talks broke down entirely. Yet with Engelbert holding her ground and players digging in, the predicament intensified daily. It was no longer about a contract. It was about leadership,
Cathy
allegiance,
should just own
and
up
whether
and
the
step
league
down.
could hold
I
together.
believe that's what
As the
should happen.
Halloween CBA
Cathy needed to
deadline
just
neared,
walk away.
fans feared the WNBA
Going
was
off into
living
the
its own
sunset.
horror
Well,
story.
the half bright sunset, I should say, because it ain't gonna be a good goodbye. But I feel like at this point she gonna have to step down. Adam Silver goes on to say, I wish I could find audio of this. We will get a deal done with the players, Silver stated empathetically. Lots of work left to be done, but we'll of course get a new collective bargaining agreement.
After weeks of turmoil, Adam Silver finally took center stage, and his statement resonated more powerfully than anticipated. At the NBC Sports headquarters, the NBA commissioner spoke on the WNBA's escalating unrest for the first time. Cameras flashed, reporters listened intently, and every player awaited news on their professional future. Silver started his address calmly, labeling the conflict "growing pains," a term that seemed mild but held a significant subtext. It was his method of acknowledging the crisis without openly shaming Cathy Engelbert, though the underlying warning was palpable. He then praised the league's impressive growth under Engelbert, citing better sponsorships and TV ratings. But his demeanor soon changed. He conceded that there were relationship issues between the league and its players that required attention. That single admission altered the entire dynamic. It was the first public acknowledgement from the NBA that the crisis was not just about finances. It was deeply personal. The bond of trust between players and the front office was broken, and the NBA was now directly involved in mending it. For the casual observer, it was typical commissioner rhetoric. For insiders, the message was loud and clear. Silver was quietly taking command. Subsequent reports verified that the NBA was now supervising aspects of the WNBA's labor talks, steering them away from a complete shutdown. In essence, Silver was not merely offering an opinion, he was taking charge. The WNBA was now an arm of the NBA's crisis management team. His comments also highlighted something else: his own frustration. Silver, a figure known for his calm professionalism, was now compelled to resolve a crisis that should have been avoided. He saw the WNBA's potential amplified by Caitlin Clark's arrival and a new wave of stars, but he also saw how that success was jeopardized by Engelbert's leadership. Every error she made, from public blunders to internal failures, eroded the league's standing. Silver was now stepping in to keep those fissures from becoming a complete collapse. Following his address, the news cycle erupted. Some lauded Silver's intervention, hailing him as a savior for women's basketball. Others lambasted him for shielding Engelbert rather than demanding accountability. Social media buzzed with arguments over whether the NBA should permanently manage the WNBA. One thing was evident: his involvement had sparked new hope among the players. For the first time in a long while, it felt like someone with authority was truly listening. However, Silver's composed delivery could not conceal the harsh reality. Behind the scenes, the relationship between the two commissioners was said to be tense. Engelbert felt marginalized, and Silver's expanding role threatened to reveal the WNBA's true instability. The press event might have calmed the public, but it also underscored a chilling fact: the league was no longer in Engelbert's hands. Initially, Adam Silver's compliments for Cathy Engelbert seemed polite, almost supportive. He applauded her for guiding historic growth, mentioning record sponsorships, greater media exposure, and a surge in popularity after Caitlin Clark's first season. But those familiar with Silver's leadership knew better. He chooses his words carefully, and each piece of praise serves a purpose. To a discerning listener, his compliments were tinged with a warning when he immediately followed up by emphasizing the need to fix relationship problems with players. He was clearly delineating the line between achievement and failure. It was his subtle way of communicating: "You've created momentum, but you have also shattered trust." That exchange was replayed constantly on sports channels. Pundits analyzed his choice of words, dubbing it a diplomatic dagger. Silver had effectively validated what insiders already suspected. Engelbert's failure to connect with her players had turned into a significant problem. Rather than defending her directly, he presented her success as incomplete and dependent on fixing things, which gave the NBA the leeway to step in if she failed. In private, this message was received as a clear warning. It was reported that several league executives took it as Silver signaling his preparedness to make changes in leadership if the WNBA's situation did not improve. What made the moment even more revealing was Silver's handling of the press afterward. When asked point-blank if he retained full confidence in Engelbert, he sidestepped a direct answer. He instead stressed partnership, stating, "We're all working toward the same goal." This phrasing was telling. Silver offered no full endorsement. He merely positioned her within a group effort, suggesting she was no longer in charge of it. For a commissioner known for his precision, the omission was deliberate. It was the quiet confirmation that Silver's intervention was not temporary. The response within the WNBA was mixed. Some in the front office saw his remarks as a form of reassurance. Others, particularly player reps, viewed it as a vindication, a sign their complaints were finally being acknowledged at the highest level. For them, Silver's address was not about damage control. It was about holding leadership accountable, meaning Engelbert's authority was rapidly diminishing. Engelbert, on the other hand, appeared oblivious to the ground she'd lost. Sources from her office indicated she saw Silver's comments as helpful support, not a critique. This misinterpretation reinforced the view that she was disconnected from the reality of the situation. By not understanding the message in Silver's words, she exhibited the very detachment that had caused the players to lose faith in her. In the following days, the media portrayed the dynamic as a story of two commissioners, one composed, esteemed, and strategic, the other defensive and embattled. Silver's carefully worded praise was more than just a diplomatic statement, it was a public display of who truly wielded power. The WNBA might have Engelbert's name on its letterhead, but it was clear to everyone whose authority she was now under. If a single person is currently keeping the WNBA afloat, it's Caitlin Clark. Her effect on the league is indisputable. Attendance soared, merchandise sold out, and her games shattered viewership and attendance records. However, her ascent also brought to light the underlying issues that had developed under Cathy Engelbert's tenure. Clark was more than a basketball prodigy. She became a benchmark for how the league supports its stars. When the public saw how inadequately she was protected, marketed, and valued, they began to doubt if Engelbert genuinely grasped the importance of her most valuable asset. The friction surrounding Clark culminated during the Olympic team selection. Her omission from the roster sparked widespread fury on social media and sports programs. Many interpreted it as a sign of the league's internal politics, a system that seemed to resent popularity rather than celebrate it. Engelbert's failure to comment on the controversy exacerbated the problem. She missed a chance to bring fans and players together by backing one of the most bankable athletes in women's sports. Instead, her silence deepened the rift. This wasn't just alienating to fans, it hurt the league's reputation when unity was most needed. Adam Silver grasped the high stakes. For him, Caitlin Clark signified more than just ratings. She was evidence that women's basketball could flourish with the proper support. Her triumph was the model for the league's future, and squandering her goodwill could set back years of growth. Reportedly, Silver privately pushed league officials to leverage Clark's appeal while ensuring harmony among players. But Engelbert's strategy was reactive instead of proactive. She viewed Clark's stardom as a public relations issue rather than a chance to redefine the league's brand. This misstep had wide-ranging consequences. Sponsors started channeling funds into Clark-centric campaigns, circumventing the league's main marketing office. Media networks gave Clark's games precedence, occasionally even over championship matchup. It was apparent that fans were more invested in her journey than in the commissioner's official story. The WNBA was succeeding because of Clark, not its administration. The more this became clear, the more it reflected poorly on Engelbert's leadership. Silver, in turn, used the opportunity to demonstrate what strong leadership entails. He publicly commended Clark's conduct, remarking on how her presence had elevated the sport for all. This was not just a compliment, it was a subtle critique of the WNBA's failure to adequately support her. In making this statement, he reinforced the idea that NBA oversight was essential for the league to realize its full potential. The Caitlin Clark phenomenon did more than just improve statistics. It exposed the leadership void at the league's summit. Engelbert's detachment had transformed a source of inspiration into a source of instability. Now the WNBA's future rested on whether Adam Silver could safeguard its biggest star while mending the trust she had inadvertently revealed to be broken. As the league's crisis intensified, rumors started circulating through front offices and media outlets. Cathy Engelbert might not weather this crisis. According to several insider accounts, high-level figures at the NBA were discreetly reviewing contingency plans for her possible dismissal. Publicly, the league issued denials. Privately, these discussions were reportedly happening. Adam Silver had grown exasperated with Engelbert's failure to unify her players, restore public confidence, or make tangible headway in negotiations. The issue was no longer if she would leave, but when and how to orchestrate it to avoid more turmoil. Sources allege the NBA had formed a small crisis team, collaborating with PR experts and labor attorneys. Their directive was clear: assess the legal and financial repercussions of Engelbert's ouster. The mere existence of such a team was a major signal to insiders. Silver was no longer just observing the WNBA, he was readying a direct intervention. It was reported that several team owners favored this course of action, viewing it as the only path to rebuilding confidence before the next broadcast rights negotiations. In the meantime, Engelbert's rapport with the players had completely disintegrated. Dialogue between her office and the players' union had ceased, and even team managers found it difficult to get straight answers. One GM referred to the league's leadership as paralyzed. Sponsors were getting nervous, networks demanded guarantees, and player reps were losing patience. All indicators suggested a leadership breakdown, and the NBA's non-statement on the matter grew more significant each week. The timing amplified the problem. The WNBA was on the verge of a new $2.2 billion media contract, a deal that could ensure its financial future if managed well. But networks were reportedly unwilling to fully commit with Engelbert at the helm. Their concern was straightforward: another PR disaster could jeopardize their investment. This gave Adam Silver unprecedented influence. His standing as a composed, trusted leader was a sharp contrast to Engelbert's beleaguered persona. The NBA had credibility where the WNBA lacked it, a fact Silver knew well. Talk of a forced departure began to circulate. Some insiders speculated she would be given a discreet exit deal, presented as a strategic change. Others thought she would be compelled to resign after the new CBA was ratified. Regardless, it was evident the NBA would no longer tolerate her errors shaping the league's trajectory. Players even started to express themselves more freely on social media, posting enigmatic hints about impending changes. According to early reports, Engelbert knew about the rumors but would not address them publicly. Yet her absence from key meetings strengthened the belief that she was being sidelined. For a long time, she had been the public face of the WNBA's expansion. Now, she was becoming the face of its potential downfall. With each new rumor, a single truth emerged: Adam Silver was not just rescuing the league anymore, he was getting ready to replace its leader. As October advanced, the climate surrounding the WNBA became more ominous by the day. The Players Association had already declared its position: without significant reform and accountability, no agreement would be reached. The collective bargaining agreement, originally slated to last through 2027, was now set to end on October 31, 2025 due to the union's opt-out. This date now seemed less like a negotiation point and more like a deadline for disaster. In private, league insiders called the atmosphere tense and fragile. This was no longer just about salaries, it was about the league's very existence. Adam Silver understood the potential damage of a lockout. He had witnessed the NBA's image suffer during previous work stoppages and knew that the WNBA, still in a delicate stage of growth, might not withstand one. This prompted him to organize private meetings with key stakeholders, pushing for consensus while quietly preparing for all possibilities. The NBA's participation was no longer a choice, it was the only factor preventing the league's collapse. Silver's sway grew so profound that insiders dubbed him the Shadow Commissioner. Every official announcement, every league development, every rumor seemed to bear his mark. Cathy Engelbert, meanwhile, was losing her supporters. Her inner circle had diminished, and her contact with players was almost zero. The same officials who had previously backed her were now creating distance, bracing for the future. Sponsors and media companies were demanding answers. Was Engelbert staying or going? The lack of response from the league office only increased the uncertainty. To the outside world, it appeared to be a leadership void. To those with inside knowledge, it was a power transfer in progress. What made this deadline particularly eerie was its symbolism. Halloween, a night of costumes, shadows, and revelations, had become the day of judgment for a league plagued by its own poor management. Social media was rife with conjecture about whether the WNBA would announce Engelbert's departure or a CBA extension under new supervision. Players maintained a vague but pointed silence, with some sharing cryptic posts about long overdue change. Even Caitlin Clark, who had remained mostly out of the fray, added to the speculation with one simple line: "We just want a league worth fighting for." By midnight, it was obvious a major development was imminent. The WNBA would either begin a new era of strength with Silver's direction or descend into the feared lockout. Each negotiation felt like the quiet preceding a major storm. Silver's representatives advocated for compromise, while the players insisted on transparency and leadership change. An insider perfectly captured the situation. It's not just about money, it's about who is truly running women's basketball. As the Halloween deadline drew near, a single truth resonated through both leagues. The WNBA's future now rested solely on the shoulders of the man who never intended to lead it, Adam Silver. And like it or not, saving the league might require him to take it over entirely. As the WNBA stands on the brink of its most decisive moment, a single truth is now undeniable. Adam Silver is no longer a bystander. He is spearheading the rescue. What started as subdued discontent has transformed into a major intervention, revealing all the flaws in Cathy Engelbert's leadership. The players have voiced their concerns, the fans have taken note, and the league's destiny now hinges on the choices made in the next few weeks. A lockout could undo years of hard-won progress, but a fresh start under Silver's capable guidance could finally help the league achieve its true potential. The issue is no longer if he can save the WNBA, but if he is prepared to rebuild it from its foundations. Because if the Halloween deadline passes without a resolution, the next major story won't be about conflict or negotiations. It will be about the league that failed to save itself before it was too late.